Hello guys, welcome to the Solution Architecture episode number 6. Your host is Ben. Today I'd like to cover the 8 common mistakes for new solution architect and how to avoid them. Okay, let's get started. Mistake number 1, not talking to the real customer. So as a new solution architect, especially when you get a handover a project from your peer solution architect, normally the handover is performed by a business analyst and your peer architect, maybe a project manager, and they will tell you this is what the customer wants and this is the requirement, and please give us a design and go through the necessary processes to get approved, and they can carry on to the build and deploy. What is very common in this scenario is if you do what the PM and business analysts tell you, often than not, your design will not actually meeting what your real customer wants. A better way is listen to whatever the handover will tell you, but you still need to meet the real customer. Sit down with them or ask them out for coffee. Just get an overview. Ask them some simple question like exactly why you're doing this project, what do you try to achieve, what are the business drivers. This will really help you to sort of understand what your customer really wants, understand the problem. So the key thing for solving a problem is understand the problem. So talk to your real customers, cutting off the middleman. So that's the mistake number 1. So mistake number 2 is this pressure from some stakeholder to use a particular solution. What this is, so often for a project, you're dealing with different stakeholders. You have your project manager, you have your business sponsor, so they tell you what the problem they're trying to solve, right? So you also have security manager, your operational manager. They all approaching this project from a very different perspective. As a solution architect, your role is balance their concerns. Whenever you make a design decision, that they will need some sort of compromises, right? So you need to really engage with them, talk to them, and make up your own decision. So a very common mistake made by a new architect is you often have a very sort of well-spoken stakeholder that influence you to use a particular solution. They're going to benefit from him. That if you actually go down this approach, then your solution probably will only benefit 1 or 2 stakeholders, but not a broader, not a well-designed solution. They're actually going to deliver the business value as well as to deliver the same sort of align with the same thinking that other stakeholders want. So the way to avoid this is always try to strike a balance and always try to risk or understand, explain the implication behind any design decisions in your design document. So that's mistake number 2. Mistake number 3 is, as a solution architect, your knowledge is limited. So in the previous episode, I covered as a solution architect, you need to have a broader understanding of the technology stack. A common mistake is if you're coming from a developer background, especially a certain type of technology, like a .NET or Java, or maybe product like a SharePoint, Dynamics CRM, or Salesforce, then your understanding of the technology is very limited in that what you did in the past, then the outcome is your solution will be designed using those technology that you're familiar with. This is often not going to be the best solution. As a solution architect, you need to broaden your technology. So when you go to conferences, you're not only going to the product or the technology company that you're familiar with. You need to talk to other companies. You need to listen to other podcasts or conferences or understand other product and technology, so that when you have a problem, then you can come up as many options as you can, and then you can recommend the best solution to solving that problem. So that's the third problem. So the fourth problem is you forcing a technology pattern or design to a business stakeholder. So example is, say you've got a system A and a system B that you need to integrate them together. You, as a company standard, you might having a standard to say, hey, application to application integration that need to go through a middleware that your company has. Example like a JBoss or MuleSoft or Microsoft Azure Logical App, for example. So when you actually talking to your stakeholder, you can't just say, hey, as a company policy, you need to do this, because often involving middleware, the cost is much higher than doing a sort of application to application integration. So you really need to talk in terms of what are the risks, what are the benefits that you actually using the technology sort of standard that your company have. For example, in one of the projects I have, that the company using a integration that need to integrate with a line of business application with our with our accounting system. The accounting system, so there's a lot of sort of a file CSV based integration that was happening in the accounting system. The business just say, hey, why we have to pay this to actually using the middleware? Why can't we just stick to the old CSV file? So the way I persuade them is to say, hey, you are dealing with the payroll system that is. The way I engage with the business is to say, hey, this is, if you're using the CSV file, the end result is you're going to integrate the sort of the payment information in the accounting system. They're potentially going to impact your revenue. And also there are actually customer private information that hold in the CSV. They're also, if you store it in the file share, they're potentially having some sort of a security private information risk. So I laid out this sort of two risks to them. One is revenue, the other is private information sort of breach. If you go down the CSV file solution, are you able to sign off those risks? Or do you want to take those risks going forward? This way, the business can understand, okay, we're paying a bit more money, but we actually mitigate some of the risk and to make a sort of a system much more robust, and also having the confidence to use such technology. Mistake number 5, thinking solution architect is a decision maker. So in the previous episode, I covered that a solution architect, it isn't a decision maker. In fact, a solution architect is more like an advisor. They lay out all the facts, around all the options to solving a problem and put a recommendation based on the facts they have and also the risk, what are the company strategy and all of those constraints we have, and essentially advise the decision maker this is the best way to go. So yes, remember you're not a decision maker, you are the advisor. So find out all the facts, risk, constraints, issues, lay out in your design document and present it to the decision maker and let them to make an informed decision. Mistake number 6, not know what each stakeholder is concerned. So this is very common. So I believe, so for example, that when you talk about to sort of your business stakeholder, all they want to know is whether the solution actually meeting what they want. So you're not really going to talk about a lot of those non-functional requirement, or we call a sort of they call a quality attribute, those high availability and all those. You might ask them a question like how long you can do you have a business continuity plan, and how long you can is your department can still function without the system, that sort of question. But in the end, they probably will still want to know whether this is going to meet their functional requirement. However, when you talk to your security manager probably more concerned about whether the data when it's transferred between systems has been encrypted, has there been putting enough security security precautions in your design. So you really need to understand what each stakeholder's perspective. So when you talk to them, making sure you're talking to their language. Mistake number 7 is confuse leadership with sort of management order. So as I mentioned in the previous episode, as a solution architect, you need to be a leader. What leader means is, I think Brian Tracy gave 2 definitions of leaders. One is, as a leader, you will have followers. Another definition is, as a leader, you can elicit extraordinary results from ordinary people. So what that really means, you can't just say that to the developer to say, hey, you have to use this. You really need to give them the reasons. Like I mentioned that, like if you do need to use a middleware, you do need to explain to them the reason, because we have those 2 risks, that the revenue impact and the private information breach impact. Therefore, that by utilizing a middleware, that will reduce that. Obviously, middleware will do other things, but I mean, just explain to them the rationale behind utilizing a certain technology. Number 8, the last one, is saying no. Often when you ask to say, hey, can we use this? You say no. Can we use this middleware? You say no. Or can we use this middleware? You say no. Don't say no. Instead of saying no, raise as a risk. So if you're thinking about utilizing a particular technology or particular platform or particular product, it isn't the ideal situation. Just raise a risk. Think about the risk or potential issues, essentially, that what is going to bring to the table, and then just talk to your PM and different stakeholders to say, if you go down this path and this is a risk you're potentially going to have, are you able to sign it off? Right? Don't say no, just raise as a risk. Okay, here's the end of the episode. Episode number 6. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time.